Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we will continue with part 4 of constructing the car project. Okay, so now that we are done with the wheel flats on both the front and the rear, I'm going to move on to the roof and the front windshield of the car. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to side view, F6, and I'm going to create some curves. So I'm just going to start with degree 2 curve. And I'm just going to lay out this, some curves to mimic the center line of the vehicle. So I'm just going to lay something like this. Now, it doesn't have to be exact because we will be adjusting it later on. So we just have to quickly block it in, make sure that it's hitting all the points like that. Now, it's kind of hard to match the center line exactly, because right now we have the roof rail in the way. We'll try to match it as closely as possible. So I'm just going to move the CVs around like this to get a good match between the curves and the canvas. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that there's a little bit of acceleration towards the fillet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the transform CV tool. I'm going to grab slide and pick the CV here, and I'm just going to move it slightly. I'm going to have a slight lean towards the top to help the curve have a little bit of acceleration. Now, what am I talking about when I say acceleration? If you pick under locators, if you pick the curve and you use curvature, you'll see that there's you'll see this green bars with a red, I guess, a slope on top. So what this shows is that it shows the amount of acceleration or amount of curvature that a curve has. So if the higher the bar, that means that it's got a more curvature to it. So if I put this in numerically, let's see if I can measure the radius. So the radius here is a 4,600, 4,700. The radius here is 8,200. So this has more of a tighter curve than over here. So when you're doing a fillet, you just want to make sure that there's a little bit of acceleration towards where you want the fillet to be. So I'm putting a little bit more acceleration towards this point. And I'm going to, well, right now this already has a little bit, I put the CV towards the front, so there's a little more acceleration towards the front of the curve, as you see right here. Okay, so I think we need a little bit more control here, so I'm just going to add one more degree. So I'm going to make that a degree 3 curve, and I'm going to pull this CV up just a little bit so that it matches the center section a little bit better. I'll pull this point a little bit down. Okay, and I think that mimics it pretty well. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm just going to use the extend tool just to bring these curves together like this. Okay, I think that matches pretty well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use copy and paste, and I'm going to bring it outboard like that. Now, what I'm going to do is, now we have the center section, I'm going to try to mimic this inside edge of the vehicle. So right now you'll see this line right here. I think that's a good line to mimic. So I'm just going to use a stretch tool. Okay, let's match it from the side view first a little bit at least. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it down, and I think this line is corresponding to this this line right here. So I'm going to try to match that. So I think this, maybe just move it a little bit inboard, and right now there's a little bit more, I guess, taper towards the top. So I'm just going to bring this down and do like that. And it looks like there's a little bit more crown. So I'm just going to add a little bit more crown like this. Now you want to make sure that those relative CV location is pretty similar between all three, or between the two curves. So you just want to make sure that it's nicely lined up. Now, you can't really see it here, but it looks like this line is a little bit inboard of this rail. So I'm going to move it up just a little bit like this. And I'm going to Okay, so let's see. And I'm going to move this point a little bit down like that. So it's close. Okay, so and next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to match it from the top view. Now the top view is a little bit easier to match because right now you can actually see it. So I'm going to use the stretch tool to line up like this. And let me just make sure that that's how it looks on the image, the actual car. So I'm going to try to find a vehicle image with the top view. Looks like, let's see. Looks like this is a good image. But it doesn't really show. Okay, let me try to find the top view if I can find one. Okay, looks like I don't think I can find one. Okay, so we'll just keep going and see see later if we need to adjust it at all. But let's go with this for now. Okay, so I'm just going to use a stretch tool just to make sure that all the curves are lined up. So I'm just going to put it over here and this one over here like this. Okay, so it looks like we need a little bit more lean towards here. Okay. That looks pretty good. Let's see. Pull it out just a little bit like that. Okay, so now I think it's falling very well. I think I just need to extend this one and see if that's a good match between the two curves. Looks like it is not, so I'm just going to move the CV over here like this. And maybe I'll just, okay, so it looks like we need to adjust this a little bit. CV here and move this down just a little bit so that it mimics the curve. And maybe I'll just, okay, so that's looks like that's not a good match. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this whole curve a little bit up so that it follows this. Now this line is not, I don't think it's going to be super critical just because right now it's a little bit, I guess, a little bit outboard of this line. So I think this might be a little bit better location to make the glass. So, I mean, if we have a chance to adjust all this, so let me just try to make this work. Okay. So now we have the lines all set up. Now this one is a little bit short, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a extend tool just to bring it a little bit inboard. Okay. Now I think we have a good match from the side view and also a good match from the top view. Okay, so it looks like it's a little bit not matching that well here, but I think that's because there's probably a little bit of thickness in design detail that we are not able to see in the orthographic drawing. Okay, so to start, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these curves in a different layer. Let's say layer new. I'm going to assign, and I'm going to call this a layer symmetry. And I'm going to turn the symmetry on. Now, in order to create a roof or something that will cross a center line, there are several ways to do this. But one of the ways that I prefer in order to create a roof of a vehicle or windshield or something like the hood to goes across the center of the vehicle, I like to use the symmetry function with the skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the skin tool. And I'm going to hold down Shift key. Now, the regular skin tool, all you have to do is click two edges and it creates a flat surface. Or if you add crown, you can get a crown, a little crown. However, if I just connect these two, you'll see that there's a peak in the middle. But in the skin tool, there's one more function that's very helpful. Now, if you click skin and you hold down Shift key like this, and go across all the curves like this, what it does is it creates a whole sheet that goes across exactly at where you establish the curve. So let's say I do a project on this, that it's, well, I guess it's not a perfect match. Actually, let's increase the tolerance and let me see, draw precision. Okay, so right now you'll see that the curve on surface is an exact match to the curve. So this is one of the most beneficial function of the skin tool. Okay, so I'm just going to move this into a default layer because I don't want it to be an exact match. And the same thing I'm going to do on the windshield. So I'm going to say, hold down Shift key, just click over like this, and now I have the windshield. Now you'll notice that this is actually not a perfect match to the windshield line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate it by hand. So the reason being is right now we have a 2-degree surface, 2-degree over here and 2-degree over here, but we need a little bit more control, to match this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to a 3-degree. Oh, not that way, but the other way. Now it's going to ask if you want to delete the construction history. That is fine. And because it needs to be symmetrical over the center, I'm going to turn the symmetry on like this. And I'm just going to slide the CVs to. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the transform CV tool. I'm going to pick, I'm going to choose the Hall mode, and I'm going to choose slide, maybe mouse sensitivity to 50, and I'm just going to pick this inside one like this to slide the CVs out like that. And you'll see that we are getting much closer to matching this curvature right here. Oops, that's a mistake. Okay, so it looks like we do need to move it out quite far, and I'm just gonna. Okay, so now I'm just gonna grab this one. Oops. Like this, and just move it out like that, and I think we have a better match. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing the same thing over here. So now you'll see there's a little bit disconnect between these two surfaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the align tool. So I'm going to use align position. And I'm just going to align it over here. Now, if I just do a position, you'll see that it's disconnected, still positional. It's not meeting the positional continuity. So I'm just going to increase the position influence to max, and I'm going to do a blending, 1, 2, 3, so that the rest of the surfaces also follow. Okay, so I think 3 is pretty good. I might need to adjust the CVs a little bit here, but I think that's pretty good. And now we are not matching perfectly on the rear, so I'm just going to use some hand manipulation here to do that. So I'm just going to delete the construction history, and I'm going to just grab the move CV tool, and I'll just, I'm going to make sure that, oops, I'm going to make sure the symmetric modeling is on, and I'm just going to move it to individual CV, and I'll just slide it like this. Okay, that's good. And I'm just going to slide these just a little bit outboard so that it has a better alignment. Okay, so now we have our roof surface sort of baked in. So in the next video, I think I'm going to start adding fillets to the roof. Okay, so that's it for part 4. We will continue in the next tutorial, and thank you guys for watching.